Hey, everybody, we are back. It's Relationship Gumbo Podcast, and we are here for the second episode of the new podcast series. And my name is Coach Derek Jones, and I am your certified relationship coach, certified emotional intelligence coach, and I'm also a healing coach now. I'm certified in all three. I come here to bring you value. And what I need to do first you need to do is subscribe to the YouTube channel. Make sure that you find me on YouTube. Click the link in any bio that you see of mine. The website is relationshipgumbo.info. And we are going to get busy, y'all. But first, I want to make sure that everything is working. So I want you to give me about 30 seconds. I will return back here and we're going to get into this topic. It's all about resentment. It's all about resentment and what that looks like. And why is it the silent relationship killer? I'll see you in about 30 seconds.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derek Jones about to break it down with the relationship gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, ayy, cause better relationships need better ingredients, ayy. So if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derek Jones, the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in. Relationship gumbo, ayy.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. So I'm going to reiterate a couple things. And then we'll have a commercial break maybe in the middle, and I'll tell you about what's coming up with Relationship Gumbo Coaching. But I welcome you. Welcome back. If you're not following me, if you're not subscribed to me on YouTube, make sure you do that and make sure you click that notification bell so that everything that I do, you can see it. So give me 2 seconds here. I see something on my screen here. Give me 2 seconds, literally 2 seconds. All right, we good. So let's talk about this resentment. And if you're here for the first time, my name is Coach Derek, and I am your certified relationship coach, certified emotional intelligence coach. And here at Relationship Gumbo Coaching, it's all about healing first so that you can reveal the best version of yourself for your dating, relationships, and marriage. So I help you from the bottom and get you strong there, and then we build you up so that you don't make a lot of the same mistakes. So Resentment is most of the time on silent mode, right? And what I mean by silent mode is a lot of times when we resent people, nobody knows but us, right? Sometimes our partner may feel a little something, but they don't know it. And why is that? Because we don't communicate it, right? So we're going to talk about why. And we're also going to talk about why. Not just why, but what it actually ends up turning into, right? And a lot of us know this very well because either we've been resented or, we are the person who ends up resenting a person, right? And everything that you'll find that I talk about on my show and in my coaching, everything has an origin story, right? It's just like a superhero or a villain in a comic book. Everything has an origin story. Our behaviors have an origin story. We don't normally parse out those patterns of our behavior because we're emotionally attached to someone, or we haven't really detached enough and done enough of being curious about the why to figure out what those origin stories are. And that's what I help you do here at Relationship Gumbo Coaching. I help you figure out your patterns so that you can build yourself back up and stair-step your way back to a better you. So let's talk about this. Resentment. A lot of times, first let's do this. Let's define it, right? I have a definition that I typed up here so that we can kind of clarify where we are. So what is resentment? Resentment describes a negative, and I'm going to emphasize certain words as I speak. It's a negative emotional reaction to being or feeling mistreated. There is no one cause of resentment, but most cases involve an underlying sense of being mistreated or wronged by another person. Experiencing frustration and disappointment is a normal part of life, right? I see y'all coming in now. Welcome in. So here's the thing, right? I know a little bit about this thing. I don't have to read any books on this one. So let's go back to the definition real quick. I'm going to pick out some pieces for you so that we can get some understanding. It's a negative emotional reaction to being or feeling mistreated, right? So I put the feeling part on the back because sometimes feeling mistreated may not necessarily be the truth. It just may be our perception, right? And a lot of times our perception becomes fact, right? Because it's something that we actually feel. Our feelings become facts. We don't necessarily have any evidence, but we place that on there. We're going to talk about why this happens, right? So is that wrong that you feel real or perceived, right? The mistreatment, is it real or perceived? Your body, your human body, if you feel mistreated, your brain sees it as a threat, right? Just like if you was about to go get hit by a bus, right? Your brain perceives it as a threat. When it perceives a threat, it will respond, right? And these are called trauma responses, right? So we're not going to dig too deep into the trauma definitions. We'll maybe do that in a few weeks, but there's typically 4 different ways. It's fight, flight, freeze, fawn, right? So fight is the people that kind of attack you, right? Flight is people that the runners, they run away from the conflict. Freeze is when you just don't know what to do and you're just kind of stuck, right? And fawn is where the people pleasers fall into a lot of times, where you just want to do whatever you need to do to make the person happy so it'll go away, right? So a lot of times when you perceive the mistreatment, whether it's real or made up in your mind, and the made up in your mind, let's put a pin in that. We're gonna figure out where that comes from in a minute. So when you get, and when I emphasize words, these are the words that you're going to need to use to think about this, right? When you get triggered by the mistreatment, you will respond. A lot of us, because we want to keep the peace, we'll just keep it to ourselves. And what ends up happening is that throughout the relationship, the more you keep it to yourself, the more you start to change how you view your partner. When you start to change how you view your partner, this is the birth of resentment. You will start to have a disdain for them. But you still, here's the trick, you'll have disdain. Some of y'all might even hate the person, right? Because of what you feel from the perceived or the real mistreatment, you're going to hold on to it. And the way that you start to see them starts to change. And the way that we normally deal with this is that we don't necessarily leave the relationship. So then we have to pretend that resentment isn't there. We have to function in the relationship as if everything is okay. Because if I tell my partner that I'm feeling this way, how would they react? Because there's a big question mark and there's a big unknown there, we'll just rather keep the peace, right? So think about this. You're getting triggered in a conversation, right? And so now we're going to get into real versus perceived threat or mistreatment, right? Like if you're getting physically abused, that's real, right? If someone is attacking you, that's real, right? But there's a space where sometimes your past comes to haunt you and you perceive the threat a certain way and it may not necessarily be its intention, right? And what I always tell people when I do my live shows is your triggers from your past trauma normally show up when you get into a relationship in your arguments and your disagreements, because this is where you start to conflict, challenge each other. Maybe you don't agree for the first time when you're in a new relationship and it feels kind of funny. How are they treating you? How is the tone of their voice? How are their mannerisms? Does it seem aggressive, right? These things can trigger things that may have happened to you in the past and you've kind of muted it down and now the trigger brings it back up, right? If you are bringing your past into your new relationship, your vision when it comes to mistreatment, when it comes to perceiving a threat, it's a little blurry now because you have unresolved trauma inside your relationship. And now it's leading the charge when you argue, when you have to deal with conflict. So now you have to ask yourself, was my reaction, and when I say reaction, I'm really talking about the building of resentment. Is that resentment warranted? Did I bring this emotion and this feeling into the relationship? Or is this something real that's just happening for the first time within this relationship here, right? These are the questions that you have to ask when you start to look at things that you need to work on, your healing journey, trying to figure out really like, where am I in this relationship? Why am I reacting to this way? And sometimes you're self-aware. Sometimes you're self-aware that you reacted in the wrong way. You just don't know where it came from, right? Sometimes you apologize to the person, right? But if they keep doing it, right, then sometimes we get quiet because we feel like we don't have a voice. We feel like we're not being heard. So we shut up in service of the relationship, which has now technically been tainted because you haven't solved the problem. You haven't addressed the issue, right? A lot of this triggery stuff can come from past relationships, but most often it comes from your childhood, right? We talk about that a lot here. There's even a workshop on my website for shadow work, right? This will help you identify some of those things, right? Your past sometimes dictates how you respond to how a person treats you, right? And without any dialogue, because you have trauma, that part of you will fill in the blank. It's going to tell you for certainty what it is without even talking to the person. It's got to be this because this is how I felt before with somebody else. This is how I felt before when my parents punished me. My mama used to yell at me all the time when I was a kid, and my partner is now starting to yell. This is our first few arguments, and this, but I don't want to say anything because I don't want them to leave me. Just pay attention to what I'm saying. When you feel like that, there's an abandonment wound there that most likely comes from childhood, right? You're bringing this into your relationship. This then becomes something that triggers you, and then that trigger is going to make you respond. That response sometimes is to shut up. When you shut up, all you're doing is stockpiling resentment over time because you don't like the way you've been treated, right? So your childhood wound becomes the origin story. Your childhood wound becomes the source. Your childhood wound, understanding your past traumas, becomes how you really understand how you react to someone and understanding how they react to you. Sometimes realizing where it comes from, realizing how your partner may or may not respect your boundaries could mean the end of a relationship once you understand yourself better, right? But then if you peel back the layers, then this begs to ask, what part of you picked that partner if you had all of this unresolved trauma, right? This is where the healing journey starts, right? This is how you start to understand your patterns and why you pick certain people and all of the attachment styles and all of that stuff, right? I have workshops on all of this stuff. So just stick with me. And if you need coaching, please contact me because we don't want you to keep doing the same thing over and over again. So now the plot thickens, right? You start to build resentment, right? And I'm taking you on a little journey, right? It's not a healing journey, but it's a journey. The plot thickens now. The resentment is here. You're feeling a way about your partner because they keep mistreating you, whatever that means. The resentment is here. It's alive and well. You're looking at them out the side of your eye like, I just wish they would treat me better and then everything will be fine. I want to tell them, but if I do, they're going to get mad. Let me just be quiet. So now the resentment's already there. So this is what happens next, ladies and gentlemen. If there's enough resentment built up, if there's enough disdain built up, guess what your human body's going to want to do? Because now it's dealing with trauma. You know what it's going to want to do? Feel better. How do we feel better? We cope. But how do we cope? What is our coping mechanism? Do we even know how to cope healthily to a perceived threat? Most of us do not. So we will find things that are easy to use as coping mechanisms. Alcohol is easy. Drugs is easy. Isolation is easy. Using another person to make you feel better is easy. Is it good? Is it right? Is it necessary? Absolutely not. But we want to feel better. Why? Because the trauma needs to feel better. It's a part of you. It's an unaddressed part of you that's fighting to be seen, to be felt, to be understood. It's a little kid inside of you fighting to feel loved, fighting to find something that feels familiar to it, like abuse. Because that's that little kid's version of how they feel love. Let's breathe. So now, right, the journey, we're not over the journey yet. So now the resentment is there. Let's say your coping mechanism is isolation. So now you're not spending as much time with your partner. You might even be married, living in the same house. You have to detach from them in order for you to feel okay. You have to take moments away from them just to breathe, because you don't see them the same. Coping is a Band-Aid. You will feel better temporarily. But in order for you to understand how to fix it, there's a part of you that needs to be stronger, right? There's a part of you that needs to be okay with advocating for yourself and how you feel so your partner will understand it. Because if your partner understands it, right? If they see that you really mean business about what's hurting you, then you get to see how much they really care. Do they care about your boundaries? Do they care about how they made you feel? Do they have empathy? Right? A lot of us don't have empathy for the other person, and we love the hell out of them. But when it comes to them feeling a certain way, we dismiss them. And we say things like this: why are you so sensitive? It ain't that deep. I don't know why you still keep talking about this. Can we just move past it? You hear that enough time, you're going to stop talking. Resentment. You're going to stop talking so much that you're going to think that's how it's supposed to be. You will, in effect, build your own prison with your own hands. And it has nothing to do with your partner. Your partner didn't build the prison. They might have been the catalyst to trigger you to build it, but you built it. You have control on whether you're in jail or not. But we don't realize we have this strength. Why is that, Coach Derek? Because we didn't have it before we met them. And guess what happens to that lack of strength, right? And we're talking self-esteem, self-worth, self-love. Guess what happens to that lack of strength? When someone is mistreating you, whether it's perceived or whether it's real, it chips away at whatever you have left. Jail. Torture. You feel like crap, but you've committed to a relationship. You spend too much time there to leave because you've invested so much time. You don't have the strength to leave. Especially if you have not identified why you pick. And I always tell people, a lot of us are looking for attachment and not alignment. Because if you find someone that you align with, you're going to have to ask questions. You're going to have some checks and balances to make sure that they line up with the things that you need. Attachment just needs to feel good. Right? So if you go into a situation needing to feel good and hoping that the alignment comes later, you're doing yourself a disservice. Sometimes you can win the lottery, but most of us don't live those lives. We have a trail of tears and hurt. And we keep picking from that traumatic space, hoping that the next pick will be better, without any qualifying factors other than to feel good. If you are outside just to be validated and feel good, there's a very big chance that there's some childhood trauma going on that's making you pick this way, right? And that's what we do here at Relationship Gumbo Coaching is I help you identify these things so that we don't repeat history. The reason why you think that you can keep trying and hoping that it works is because you think that your brain and your conscious mind is actually picking the people, and it's not. So you're going to think that you know how to fix it, but your patterns and your history say otherwise. You can't do it alone. You're going to need someone to help you. Most of us are not good at healing because we never were taught how, right? So before you go outside, you got to do this. If you don't start that, little girl inside of you that's trying to claw for attention and abandonment, little boy that's inside of you that needs to be validated because he never felt good enough, that's picking your dates. Subconsciously. You don't even realize it. But I can. So you probably need to get coaching so that you can square these things away for yourself. Because if you don't, what happens, and I talk about this ad nauseum on my show, your inner child will pick your dates. It will pick something wrong because you're not qualifying them. And you probably don't even know how to vet a person right. We never was taught this stuff. You will pick somebody that doesn't fit. They will hurt you. And then you will confirm your bias that everybody's out to hurt you. So then you go back in your turtle shell again. Maybe you'll sit home for a year or two. And then you go back out there and you're like, okay, I'm ready. But you're not. Because you have no new tools. Why don't you have new tools? Because you never had them. You still trying to fix it with this. With this. It's the same you. A year older with less skills. So when you get into a relationship, to get back to the topic, if you're carrying that stuff in and someone hurts you, mistreats you, because you need to be there because of that trauma, you're going to accept it. You're going to mute yourself down so that you don't lose them. But that resentment sometimes grows without your permission. It's in there, right? And the first place that it shows up is how you behave and how you act. You could pretend, but the things you can't hide is when you start to cope and start to move differently in order to make yourself better. It's very easily seen. Your patterns will change. How you talk to them, how you treat them, how you react to them will start to change. You could fake it for a little while, but every now and then it's going to pop out. It's going to pop its head out. And then your partner going to be like, what's wrong with you? That ain't you. Oh, but it is. Right? So now we coping to make it feel better when we never had the conversation with our partner. And I always tell you this, having a fear to talk to your partner, the person you love the most, you're afraid of them. That can't be life, right? I'm afraid to talk. So now here's the next question you need to ask yourself. Your fear of conflict, was it in you before you met them? And now it just manifests with a new person. This is the healing, y'all. This is the stuff I teach y'all. Was your fear of conflict there before? Because if it was, it will be easily triggered with the new person. So now the origin story of your resentment didn't even start with your current partner. I need for y'all to breathe. They didn't even cause it. Does that mean they're good? No. But the way you react to the trigger, you might put a little extra stank on it because I went through this before. That little extra stuff that you put on it could trigger their childhood wounds and make them react to you. This is the weird way that this cycle works. Pay attention to what I'm about to do. Your partner triggers you. You react, right? You have your trauma response. Depending on how you respond to them could trigger their childhood wound. So now they have to react. Their reacting is going to make you feel even worse. But nobody's going to address it because they want to keep the peace. So now both of y'all are holding on to it and pretending everything is cool. Think about that. I got triggered, but my reaction to my trigger triggered them. And if you take my attachment style workshop, we learn that people have different styles and ways that they attach. And certain types of attachment styles will always fight if they don't talk. They will always fight. And none of it comes from the partner. They were destined to have conflict consistently before they even met each other. I need for y'all to sit on that, right? We're not talking about astrology. We're talking about your childhood. Two types of people that grow up generally good will destroy each other, will resent each other simply because of their triggers. And remember, at the top of the show, I said most of your childhood wounds and triggers will show up not while you're at work, not while you're taking care of your kids, but when you get into an argument with your significant other. Once that happens, you can take one of two stances. You can pay attention to your own behavior and ask, why did I react this way? And try to understand yourself. And then that later will help you get an understanding of how you got triggered. And then that allows you to have communication with your partner and build more understanding so they understand where you're coming from. Or you can do the second thing. Ignore it and keep doing it. Most of us do the second one. It happens so much that your body thinks it's normal. Your mind thinks it's normal. Your heart thinks it's normal. So you stay for 10 years. Unchecked. You know how much resentment you can build up in 10 years? Who do you become? You become a functional couple, but you don't become a happy one. Because you don't address the issues. You've learned to hide. You've learned to dodge. You've learned to avoid conflict at all costs because you hate the way it feels, but you can't say anything because I don't want to make them mad. Imagine a world where you can never talk to your significant other, but you're never going to leave. What does that do to you on the inside? Some of y'all already know how it feels. And then you have to ask yourself, do I want to live the rest of my life feeling like this? We would hope not. So a lot of us need help. That's why I coach, to help you through these things. But you got to admit that you don't know it all, right? But I will tell you this. When and if you get into a relationship, or if you're already in one, once you start to, and it's not going to be easy, once you start to learn how to dialogue better with your partner, the trajectory of your relationship starts to change. It starts to go into a more positive direction. Why? Because you're not hiding anymore. They get to fall in love with the real you all over again. Because you lost yourself. Hiding your feelings, hiding the resentment, being pissed off about how they walk around the house and how they chew because you just don't even want to look at them because you done held on to it for so long. That's your life. But we have the power to at least attempt to make it better with new information, new tools, new mannerisms, new behaviors, new understanding that your partner probably also has childhood wounds. Now here, let's pause. Let's breathe. Your partner's childhood wounds and your partner's reaction to being triggered could be very unhealthy for you. It may be enough for you to leave. Everything can't be worked out, But most things can when you have two people that generally love each other with better, healthier communication, better, healthier boundaries, and understanding of how each other moves. So we need to really, really catalog and think about, how do I react in conflict? It's very, yes, Vernice in the comment says it feels uncomfortable, awkward, and scary, right? So let's take that real quick. Let's use this as a lesson. Thank you for that comment. Uncomfortable, awkward, and scary, right? Let's take those words. And I alluded to this earlier, right? Let's take those words. And I'll give you like a little 30-second snippet of what I do with coaching and how we understand our patterns. So what Vernice just did was she gave us feelings, how she feels, how it feels to be in that situation, right? Very few of us, right? Feeling is present, right? Anxiety is expectation of something that might happen. But very rarely do we look at ourselves and say, why am I so scared? Why am I so scared? Why does it feel so uncomfortable? And how long ago, this is the work we do, how long ago did I start feeling like this? There's going to be a point where you started feeling like this. Then I'm going to walk you back to before you met them. And I'm going to ask you, were you ever uncomfortable, awkward, or scared in a prior relationship? You see where I'm going? We're establishing a pattern. This is going to tell us exactly why and how you behave the way you do, so that you can gather more understanding, so that you can manage yourself better. If you manage yourself better, then you're able to go into a situation with the partner that you claim you love, armed with new information and new behaviors to try to help get it along. Now, here's the caveat. Sometimes we have partners that don't give a damn. Sometimes we have partners that don't love us and they treat us like crap. That's your man. That's your woman, right? So we got to own the fact that we picked a person, we feel like crap, and we stay for 30 years. Right? And most of the time, people don't just feel like crap or feel hurt and abused 7 days ago. There's an origin story that goes way back. And so the question in coaching is, when you started to feel uncomfortable, when you started to feel afraid, when you started to fear, what was your reaction? So now you get to go down a list of trauma responses. Did you fight, flight, freeze, or fawn? Whichever one you pick is going to help us understand how you got there. And if you parse yourself back further enough in your history, there's going to be an origin point for it. And normally that origin point is not in your current relationship. And that's when the sky opens up. Oh my God, it's me. It doesn't mean you're evil. It doesn't mean that that person didn't hurt you. But you stayed. You felt abuse and you stayed. And it might not be the first relationship that you felt like this in. We got to start looking at your patterns. Because staying, not only in a dysfunctional, abusive relationship, not only harms you, the person, but it's something that breeds resentment. You will erode on the inside and you will go around smiling like it don't hurt. You will effectively change your whole character just to function and smile. In year 1, year 2, year 5. Are you even still the same person now? We get to, through coaching, make sure that you don't ever have to change again. Not in that way. I train you how to identify these key factors early enough so that you can leave before you get too far in. It's hard to do when you feel good. Remember, we talked about feeling good versus being in alignment. When you feel good, it's hard to tell when things are happening because you're just happy to be there. The traumatic side of you is like, yes, I don't feel abandoned anymore. We'll ask the questions later. Just keep going on dates. We're going to figure it out later. Then you'll say things like this. I've been with this person for 2 years and didn't even realize they was a whole narcissist. And I've been with them for all this time. You never saw the signs because you was feeling good. Imagine this. Let's do this real quick. Imagine, because we're not going to be here super long, right? Not for this show. But there will be pop-ups throughout the week, so just stay tuned. I got more surprises coming. Imagine a world where you get into a relationship that feels good and you have low self-esteem and you might not love yourself enough and you pick someone that makes you feel good. So you're starting off at somewhat of a deficit. When you start off with a deficit like that, the other person will always have more control because you don't have any. And this is man or woman. So imagine a world where you don't have control. How do you leave? You can't. You're going to stay too long. Your strength was never there. You was just tired of being by yourself. That was enough, right? Some of y'all like, I ain't had nothing in a while. Let me get some. And then you end up a whole girlfriend or boyfriend. And you're like, oh my God, I got to stay now. I've been here too long. You don't have to. You knew it wasn't right in the beginning. Now you mad as hell at yourself because you stuck. And some of y'all even married a person. I don't want them to go nowhere. Your abandonment issues is on full tilt right now. And then, this is what else y'all do. Since I'm already here, I might as well go ahead and do the most to make sure they don't leave. And then you'll say, I don't understand why they treated me like this. I did everything I was supposed to do, and they still treated me bad. And what you really did is you did everything you were supposed to do to make sure that they didn't abandon you. It wasn't about them. I need for y'all to just soak it in. Most of this stuff with training and coaching, I can't say you can avoid it all, but you definitely have better tools to identify it quicker. And even if you stay a little bit longer, there'll be tools for you to help build your strength back up so you can make a decision. Because it's human to not feel the best, to not have a full tilt of self-esteem. Because we've been banged up, we've been bruised. People have taken it from us, right? But it doesn't have to be a life sentence. That's why this coaching is essential. That's why therapy is essential for a lot of people, because we have the right to choose how we move. You know, y'all say things like, they made me do it. No, they didn't. You made you do it. Right? Without any forcible hands on your body, pinning you down type of stuff, no one on the planet Earth can make you do something you don't want to do. But we'll tell the world that they made you. He made me come to his house. She made me buy her all of this stuff. She made me. Nah, we don't let that fly here. We're going to talk about why you allowed it. What part of you picked them? That's where the meat and potatoes are, right? So as we start to come on the downslope of this, right? Let me just do a double check on I don't know why the Facebook comments aren't coming through, but we will handle that next go round. So if you are listening on Facebook, I can't see your comments, but I see that you're commenting. So I will I'll just have it up next to me here on another screen. But just be conscious, not just of how you're being treated. And I'll get that question in a minute, Vernice. Not just how you're being treated, but how you react. Because there's a lot of information in your reactions. It's a lot of meat and potatoes in how you react. Not just about you being hurt, but how you reacted to it will tell a story about your history and your patterns. So Vernice asks, what about waiting for the other shoe to drop? Is that self-sabotage? It absolutely is. That has nothing to do with the person that you're with. That was there inside you probably most of your life, lying dormant, or it could be out. Your self-sabotage could be very apparent, but that comes from a place that has nothing to do with your partner. They won't even have a fighting chance. So that's some introspection that needs to be done. That's some shadow work that needs to be done. Understanding who you are so that you understand where it comes from so that you can manage it better. And part 2 of that is understanding how to qualify people better, have better effective boundaries so that when you do meet them, the fear doesn't go away, but it's lessened because you have more control and ownership of your movements. See, that fear comes from making the assumption that they're going to push past something that you can't control. So you want to see it coming before it comes. Impossible. But what is possible is that you build up your strength so that even if it does come, you got the right to say yay or nay real early because you standing, I guess I'm going to have to say it because you standing on business. So just think about it like that, right? Like people can't make you do something. And even if they're, let me do this real quick, right? Before I leave. Even if it's their goal to manipulate you, hurt you, do all of these things that we're scared of, right? The big boogeyman, oh my God, they're going to make me do something I don't want to do, and they're going to hurt me, and they're going to manipulate me and lie to me, right? Most of the time, they can do that very quickly because your boundaries are not there. So people who have the weakest boundaries tend to be people that are very highly sensitive, empaths, nurturing, people pleasers. No matter how much you talk about your boundaries, the proof is in how you allow people in that don't deserve it. Your results of your past relationship patterns are your receipts to let you know exactly what you allow and what you don't. And a lot of you will wear a badge of honor that just says, well, that's just how I am. And I'm like, okay, so then you're going to still keep getting hurt. Because it doesn't mean you change who you are. It just means that you don't grant access to anybody that wants it. That's all. You have to learn. You got to train. You've been like this all your life. I like to fix people. I like to do that. You can control who gets it. That has nothing to do with them. So we have to look at when we say things like, I'm waiting on the other shoe to drop. That's a trauma response. So we have to parse out where that comes from. And most of y'all know where it comes from. You just don't know how to work on it. That's where I come in. So what I'll do with the remaining minutes that I have, because it's not always going to be an hour, If somebody in the comments has one question, I'll take one question and then I'm going to get out of here. If not, we're going to roll, y'all, because we got to set up for next week. And matter of fact, this is what I'm going to do. If you have a question, type it, right? So before I leave, I'm going to tell you what's coming around the pipe, right? So Relationship Gumbo is going to start a semi-private group, right? Not a Facebook group, but it's something that I am creating for you guys. It will be free to enter, but there will be upgrades depending on how much you really want to work on healing, right? Upgrade means you get more of my time, but in a group fashion, and there will be a subscription that you can pay monthly to get access to those things. Now, what those things are, this will be disseminated probably by the end of this week. And then we're going to hit the ground running because I want to help you guys. And I am building a group platform for us to be accountable because y'all going to get the workshops anyway, right? So that you can work on helping yourself. And if you don't know what to do, just message me, go to my website, email me. I think there's a link on there for a discovery call. Message me on TikTok and just say, I don't know where to start, but this is what I've got going on, and I'll direct you. So while you are starting your healing journey, this group will help you become more accountable. We'll do some sessions like on Zoom where we can talk it out with each other and talk about where we are in our journey and all of those things. Because I told you guys this, those of you who've been rocking with me for a while, I don't leave you hanging. But you have to participate in order for you to get better, right? Don't be afraid to heal. Don't be afraid to be better because you should want to be better anyway. And those of you who are single that are looking for, a potential partner, we not like time. We don't have a lot of time to be moving like the old version of us. It's not working. And some of y'all will be on here like, what is he talking about? It's not working. Look at your past. I don't have to tell you. We all got them. I don't have to tell you that you need to heal, But what you going to do about it? Right? That's the question. What am I going to do about it? What am I willing to do to really tackle these things that's putting me in those, listen to my words, putting me in these situations? Because if you think people are going to continue to hurt you, your bias will be confirmed because your traumatic version of yourself is going to keep picking them. So yes, everybody you meet will be trash because you're picking from trauma. So it's a cycle that keeps repeating. And then you're like, see, I told you everybody was bad. I knew it. Of course, you picked them. It will be a direct correlation to the thing that you didn't heal from. So if you have an abandonment wound and you extra anxious, you're going to find somebody that doesn't like to be trapped, right? They're going to move in a way that's going to make that thing trigger. And you're going to be like, where you at? Why you didn't call me? And it's like, whoa, like, where's that? Whoa. Yes, I do believe it is, and it is a trauma response. And a lot of times it does come from childhood. So yes, people pleasing is not for the person you're pleasing, it's for you. So you're going to do whatever you have to do to get a result from the person to make you feel better. It's most of the time it's not about them. So the short answer is yes. Is there nuance to it? Sure. But if you Google, is people pleasing a trauma response, it's going to be like, yep. So I think I'm going to wrap this up. You guys have an amazing rest of your night or day, depending on when you're watching. And make sure you go to relationshipgumbo.info. There's going to be a lot of stuff coming up soon. And make sure you subscribe to the YouTube if you haven't already. And let's just keep it pushing, y'all. We're going to keep this thing going. We're going to keep growing. You're going to start to see some new information disseminate over the next week or two about things that I'm doing, things that are going to be out there to help you. And like I said, if you have any questions, just contact me and we'll get you going. So until then, you guys have an amazing rest of your night, and I will see you next week. Enjoy.
Okay, everybody wants good love, that's true, I know. Derrick Jones about to break it down with the relationship gumbo. Welcome to the podcast. Ain't no doubt we all need this, ayy, cause better relationships need better ingredients, ayy. So if you want better relations, it's about communication, finding love, staying together. We all wanna make it better, yeah. Derrick Jones, the host, your relationship coach. Thank you all for tuning in.